you need to hear this as well as see it.
You guys can be comfortable taking seats and we'll be here for a while. And don't be afraid to ask questions. You know, when I was a goalie, I get better. I always wanted to ask questions. Me or Mark. So if you want to interrupt us at any point, you know, speak up. Say anything.
You know, like in school, raise your hand, jump right in.
Yep. And to begin, we're going to start with a breakdown position. And you know, before I even start with that position, I want to I'll relate it to Ray Lewis. Who are your favorite football players? Anyway.
Anybody got a favorite linebacker?
Who's your favorite football player? Sean Jackson. Who else? Anyone else?
Anybody? We're lacrosse players. We don't have football heroes? Nobody?
Go ahead. Nice. Right off. All right, Steely. Nice. All right. Anyone else?
I think Clay Matthews. I'm going to throw Clay Matthews.
Clay Matthews? All
That's my boy.
All right, well, yeah, go ahead. All right. Well, what do all those guys have in common? They have an athletic stance. So as a goalie, you need to have an athletic stance. And, you know, in old school, some of the old school parents are probably going to be like, oh, I was taught to play big or stay tall. Well, yeah, I kind of disagree with that. You know, times have obviously changed, and I think it's about being more athletic. And when I say athletic, I'm saying, you know, knees are bent, your arms are out, like you're in a good stance. And I was telling Mark earlier today, almost every sport is an athletic stance now, whether it be baseball, you know, you're down low in the outfield, wrestling, almost every sport, you're in an athletic stance. So for a goalie, you're in an athletic stance right away. I mean, you're down, knees are bent, hands are out, but you're holding a stick. So every shot that you see, you should be in athletic stance. You know, and relate that to Ray Lewis. I mean, he's my favorite football player, so I think, you know, I want to be like Ray Lewis. His stance, every single play, he's down, his arms are out, here, getting ready to play. So put a stick in your hand, knees are bent, arms out, and you're here. Every shot. Let's see.
Yeah, now when we talk about the athletic stance, one of the things you'll hear many of the coaches say is eye, thumb, ball. This does a couple of things. We talk about eye to the thumb to the ball. And what it does is you kind of use your thumb as a front sight, if you will, on like a gun. You know, you want to put that sight, you're lining up on that shooter's stick. The reason you want to do this is because it does a couple of things. It keeps your hands high. You want high hands. We live on a planet with gravity. Okay, if you try a 10 goal in here and try and get your hands back up in time, you can't move fast enough before that shooter sticks a ball over your shoulder. So you keep your hands high. You can step to it, right? But you want to keep your eye, and shorten that. A lot of my kids have listened to me for the last several years. Thumb ball, thumb ball, thumb ball. I'm yelling thumb ball. Why? I want their hands up. I want them thumb ball, covering that ball. You don't need to close one eye though. You're not really aiming anything. It keeps your hands up where they belong. Instead of telling your kids hands up, how high? How high do their hands go up? Really, I think it's really about your hands are high enough to cover the top of that. Yeah, this is 6 foot. I know a lot of you shorter players aren't going to be able to reach up 6 foot because you're not going to be thumb ball anymore. But that's part of being thumb ball, is you keep the blade of that stick up near the top pipe of that goal. So you're thumb ball. So you're going to hear this way. Keep your hands up. And so I know some coaches, you know, actually use that term, others don't. I, as a coach, I do. I know at Loyal, Coach Toomey doesn't really use that term as much. Yeah, but it's the same basic concept. They all have the same concept with different wording, I believe.
Yeah, and a good rule for that is when you're keep your stick up, like you said, eye thumb ball, put your stick right here at the top of the crease.
Yep.
Or at the top of the goal, sorry. And just walk out. And right there it should be matched up perfectly. Because, I mean, you're never going to save a shot going over the goal. So just match it up, you know, be casual right here, bring it out. And that's how high it should be right there.
Okay. And again, some guys don't, you know, you shorter fellas are going to have to reach up like this. You're going to be out of position. That's not going to be any good. So you shorter fellas, I'm going to ask you to do thumb ball. Even if you can't reach up 6 foot and cover to the top of that crossbar, we want you to get as close as possible.
Question. I
Yes.
see the way you're standing. You're not on your toes. Can you stand flat or on your toes, or does
That's a great question. You're not on your toes per se because your calves would never make it through the game. Okay? you are leaning forward, and we were getting to that actually, is you want to be slightly pigeon-toed. You're going to be slightly pigeon-toed. You want your toes kind of turning in, which is going to lift your ankles up off the turf a tiny bit, take some pressure off of them. So you're definitely, you can't stand on your toes for, you know, an hour's worth of lacrosse, but you definitely want to be slightly pigeon-toed because that gets your reflexes, you know, another 1/10 of a second faster to the ball. And that's what we're really talking about. When we talk about making saves, you know, in swimming, nobody ever beats a great swimmer by seconds. They beat them by 1/10 of a second or 100ths of a second. Same is true in lacrosse. We're not making, I don't think anybody that's out here that's already good, you know, if we can hone a couple of 1/10 of a second off your reaction to the ball, you're making more saves. But that's a great question.
Yeah, and a lot to go with that, a lot of people, a lot of older people would say stay on the balls of your feet. You know, it's really not, well, yeah, you are on the balls of your feet, but you're not on your heels. So I would not recommend to lean back at all. You're always, you know.
Again, it's that athletic stance, right? You're forward, but you're not falling forward.
Right.
I got you. These guys are ready to spring. I got
Right.
you.
Yes.
Exactly.
You got it. Yes. Everybody understand that concept with the foot? Okay.
And then we'll talk about having no ramps. All right.
Yeah.
So then we'll talk about your stick. I always keep it straight. I don't know if it'll be easier. Instead, I keep my stick straight rather than keep it at an angle.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people call this a ramp or a, you know, keep your stick on a straight plane. So, and picture this. There's markers here, and there's a piece of glass here, right here, and a piece of glass here. So it's two pieces of glass. If he leans it this way, the glass is going to break on either side, or this way. That's a really bad habit. You guys want to keep it perfectly straight. And does everyone have a stick right now?
All the goalies. We know the parents don't.
Yeah, you guys can stand up.
All the goalies stand up with your sticks in your hand.
We're going to do a quick goal drill.
And I want to mention too, we talk about how your hand holds this stick. You know, you're never gonna wrap your fist around the stick like this. You're never, all your knuckles should never be facing you like that. Really what you want to do is run your fingertips down that front spine of that stick. Okay? So and what it does is it promotes soft hands. You know, you're not death gripping. Okay? You want to have soft hands, and you want to make sure your wrist is to the back of the stick. You don't want your wrist out to the side of the stick. Does everybody see the difference? Here's side, here's back. See the difference? So you want your wrists to the back of the stick. The way to keep your wrists to the back of the stick is to keep your fingertips on the front of the stick. If that makes any sense to you. It also promotes a soft hold on the stick.
Here's a great method to, if you guys are curious about how far away to keep your hands on the stick.
Good one.
Put your stick out like this on your whatever hand you are, and put it to your elbow. Put it back to your elbow so your pole is touching your elbow. And with your left hand or your right hand, grab the bottom of your grab where your elbow meets the pole. So the bottom of your elbow, that should be about how far your hands should be apart. So I'm out here, that's how far my hands are apart. You ever have that?
Here, this young man here seems, he fights me on this one. He says, no coach, I like my hands close. Let's explain to him, if you will, the difference and the downfall in having your hands too close to you, Jamie.
Alright, well if your hands are too close, I mean, a lot of people do play like that. Right here, you know, you're tight. Well, a save to your off hip, you're going to be here,
The windmill.
here. You know, rather than if your hands are wider, it's an easier save here, or just to go on here. I mean, it's just like your elbow, your arm is going to be getting in the way right here.
That's why you want to have them out at least as wide as your chest.
Motion. It's just a quicker movement. But we have a drill right now. You guys can kind of spread out just a little bit.
Spread out along the line a little bit. Spread out, get away from each other. We're going to do a breakdown drill. You got to be far enough away from each other that you can stand there and get to your breakdown without tripping on anybody's gear.
And what you got to do with your stick, just at your hip, just like this. Just real casual, real relaxed. And when I say shot, so I'm going to say, ready? Ready? Just you're ready.
Stick down like this.
When I say shot, get in your stance right away.
So, yeah, everybody understand that? He's going to say shot, and everybody's going to hit their stance. We call it a breakdown.
I'll say ready, so just ready, just real casual, shot. Now I want you to see like, yep, just like that.
Okay, and then you're going to hold it.
Then we're just going to look. Mark and I are going to look real quick just to see what we can do.
Your hands need to get out further.
Your
Put your hands out here. Okay, not in here.
All right, ready?
Ready. Okay.
Ready, just real casual, Shot.
Shot! Good. You want your hands a little higher. You want to be up here a little bit more.
Does everyone know what a chicken wing is? Yeah, what's a chicken wing? Yep. The chicken wing is right here when your arm is out. We see a lot of guys with your elbows out. This guy right here. Mark, right here. Hey, Mark.
Yes, sir.
Chicken wing right here. Chicken wing with the gray, blue, and orange stick right there.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit of a chicken. Oh, he did it.
Yep.
So, all right. That's a chicken wing right here. We want to see kind of your elbows behind your stick.
And I can tell you too, chicken wing. Oh my
A little
God.
bit of chicken wing. That left elbow, right? You know it, right? See that chicken wing? Kind of bring it in just a little bit. You're lefty. Just kind of bring it in behind your stick a little bit. All right, we're going to do it a couple more times. So ready?
Don't spin your stick.
Ready? Shot.
Straight up and down.
All right, we'll do it one more time.
Ready, relax.
You ready? Ready? Shot.
Good. Good. Thumb ball, wrists in. Wrist behind the stick. It feels weird at first. Wrist behind the stick. If you're doing it this way all the time, you know, this is going to feel weird. Your wrists are in. Not this though.
All right, you can sit back down.
Yeah, no, Vinny, athletic stance, dude. You're still here. Right? Remember football? It's athletic stance for football.
He's not hurt.
Not some karate kid thing, okay, buddy?
And also, if you're wondering about how far your arm should be away, I do it. I just mentally in my head, I extend them out as far as they go, and then I break my elbows so I'm comfortable. You know, I
You guys all catch that?
So break them out, or just as far away as you can go, and then break them so you're comfortable when you're sitting down. Also, like Mark says, if you're sitting down in a chair, that's your athletic stance.
Sitting in a chair, put you on a wall. That doesn't sound very athletic though. That's kind of mistakes. Doesn't sound as good as Lane Lewis and Clay Matthews. You get the idea. Sitting in a chair, put you on a wall.
What about the distance that your legs are apart? Ever become a problem? Like bounce shots, push your leg?
I mean, I would say for a bigger goalie, there's, you know, right, you're a bigger guy. That's cool. They can be a little bit wider apart, or, you know, they can be a little bit, because they take up a little bit more goal. I'm a smaller guy, so I had to, you know, be a little bit more wider apart, and it really doesn't affect how you step. I mean, it's just where you're comfortable, to be honest.
Another way to answer that question would be, if you get so wide, even on your pigeon toe, that you don't feel like you're losing spring in your step, then you're too wide. So you just bring it in on your pigeon toe until you feel like you still have that spring to the ball, right? Again, we're talking about tenths of a second.